They made something else the official Thanksgiving dessert because that's what they wanted us to believe.
Now, if you follow me, we'll see the most famous depiction of the first Thanksgiving. Isn't that a cheesecake? No, it's not. There was no cheesecake at the first Thanksgiving. People, please back off. Okay, let's keep going.
We at the Cheesecakers Society truly believe cheesecake was served during the first Thanksgiving dinner. It's right there.
Oh, no, it's probably corn porridge.
How much are they paying you?
Yo, Karen, I found another Thanksgiving painting. Check this out.
Hi, this is Karen from the Cheesecakers Society. I wanted to...
No comment.
Hello? I knew it. It's right there. It's always been there.
That was dumb, Mark Sargent. Philadelphia cream cheese parodies the Flat Earth Society. That was dumb, bro. Flatties will finally see the shape of the Earth from space themselves as NASA plans to open the ISS for space tourism. This will end this horrible, redonkulous debate. That is, until they claim that everyone that went on the ISS as a tourist is a shill being paid to lie. A shocking move. NASA announced they'll soon be allowing tourists to visit the International Space Station as soon as next year. The space vacation will come at a cost of roughly $35K. And if Bob Knodel can pony up $20,000 for whatever the heck that thing was called, what was it? Oh, shit, I forget. Laser gyro, then he can make his way to the station. But that's not what's important today. Some of you guys know that, busy, sir. Cue some spooky music for this one, because this is going to be good. You guys know that I like to give you unispiracy theories, where I do a little bit of research, I find something that I think is probably true, and then hit you with it in a very spooky form. So I'm going to hook you up with a really awesome unispiracy theory that I believe there is massive evidence for tonight on my live show. Thanks for coming and hanging with me, guys. I appreciate you. We might not be streaming really long tonight, but this is going to be some good content because some of you watched my show a year or two ago when I started looking to a group of YouTubers that were pushing conspiracies in a viral marketing type fashion, kind of like they do with the Flatty stuff, but back then it was more like this weird political, government leaker garbage. And we tracked these YouTubers to a group. Remember, Robert David Steele, Fiona Barnett. I won't go into the whole thing because I could talk about it for hours. I could show you evidence for hours, and there are videos on this channel that can hook you up. But in the basic, the thing that we ended up finding was that some of the kingpins of conspiracy crazy were banding together into groups that were formed into either non-profits or loose businesses so that they could use conspiracy as the viral marketing push to get people to click their stuff and come listen. Then they would spin an obviously false, obviously fake story in order to get people watching their stuff. And yes, as many of you are going to sit there and say, you haven't talked about this in a while. Why are you bringing it up now? I'm bringing it up now not just because the GlobeBusters being in this thing called FE Core mirrors exactly that thing that we found called the ITNJ about a year ago. Not only because it mirrors it in the way it works and how they set up and how they pay each other and how they use conspiracy to get the clicks and the people to come in with the marketing and the advertising, but now Bob Knodel himself on the most recent episode of GlobeBusters literally shouted out the International Tribunal of Natural Justice and its leader, Robert David Steele, and told people to go follow the guy. So tonight, I'm going to give you little tiny pieces of what I discovered a few years ago. A year ago, 2 years ago. Most of you guys that have been here for a while know about it. I'm going to give you pieces of it that are provable, and I will even pull the evidence up and everything. Then I'll show you how Bob Knodel teaming up with Robert David Steele was something that I predicted, that I told you would happen. I told you why it would happen, and I even told you when it would happen, although it's happening a little bit sooner than what I said it would. Okay, so how does this work? I think we should start with the video that just came out entitled, "Is Bob Knodel Lying Again?" This will take us right into where we need to be. But for those of you that were around here, when I busted the ITNJ and showed you that it was just a little group of people that banded together so that they could get use conspiracy theory around politics, around things I can't say here live without being restricted. When I proved that to you back then, you're going to be able, in your head, you're going to see exactly what I'm showing you. And anyone else that's never heard of it, don't worry. I'm going to give you the up and down, and hook you up. So let's get into this right now. Do me a solid, hit like for me, hit share for me. Let's get into this. My live stream got completely reset, and I had to do a test stream earlier. So I don't know how this is going to work out. Hopefully we'll stay connected throughout the night. I know there's other people on YouTube having issues. Let's get right into it.
Mr. Bob Knodel, you are in violation of Colorado law. I pointed this out to you before. Colorado law, Article 25, regarding surveyors, engineers, and architects, Part 1 of engineers. This is 12-25-105. Unlawful practice, penalties, and enforcement. First part of the provision, it is unlawful for any individual to hold himself or herself out to the public as a professional engineer unless such individual has complied with the provisions contained in this Part 1. You have claimed to be a professional engineer, Bob.
So basically, I don't want to have to do this, but I think it'd be valuable, so I'm going to do this. One, we're going to prove to you that Bob Knodel is a con man again, something I've done at least 3 or 4 times on this channel. 2, we're going to prove to you the extent of it and how far he's gone with it. 3, we're then going to go down to the basics, and I'm going to tell you why that once you identify somebody as a liar and a con man to this degree, not accidental, not minor, not like he slipped up and said something wrong, but once he's actively trying to hide things from you in order to get you to believe him and give him money and do all that, that you could never trust him again. Most of us know this. Most of us understand that Bob Knodel is just a guy on the internet. He's worse than a stranger you bump into on the street. He has no obligation to you, at least in real life. If he tries to con you in person, you can yell for the police or you can do something to try to get him in trouble for trying to steal your money. But on the internet, he's almost protected, just like a lot of other internet con men. And why should we have to break down finding someone to be this dishonest and how you shouldn't support him after that? Because there's people still supporting the guy, knowing that this information is out there. Again, though, I want you to try to take what you see tonight and then remind yourself of how Bob has acted trying to stop people from listening to George. Let's say Bob is a professional engineer and a pilot, just like he had claimed. Why would Bob try to demonize George to make people not listen to him, other than to protect his audience? Once his audience knows that Bob is lying, they're going to see him as a bad person, as a evil person, and they're not going to send him money anymore. And I attest to you, and I will prove to you again, that he's only doing this to make sure he doesn't lose those that give him that hard cash. Bob now flatly denies he ever claimed to be a professional engineer. GlobeBusters, what is this? Is there
right?
still sound? Okay.
And this, if you guys don't know who this is guy is George Nutsack. And George Nutsack is this troll. He has come after me saying, well, you're not a PE, Bob. You're a liar and a fraud. Now, of course, I've never claimed to be a PE.
This is how easy it is for Bob Knodel to lie to you. He is stating he's never claimed to be a professional engineer. So I'm going to cut out a little bit of the music here. This is the Wayback Machine. You can go there and type in the link that you see in the video that I just tweeted out on Unirock TV, and you can be linked to exactly this link, which is the Wayback Machine takes a website and saves the state that it is in at the time that you back it up, so that if they try to change the website or delete the website in the future, there's always an image of the website online forever for everyone to see. It's like archiving the history of the internet. And when when these guys archived the Wayback Machine into the Wayback Machine FE Core website, it states here, Bob Knodel is a professional electrical engineer of 35 years with background in RF, terrestrial microwave, satellite ground station, and computer systems. He's also an FCC licensed broadcast engineer, an amateur extra class ham radio operator, and a commercial instrument MEL licensed pilot. Now, the key point is that this date is before George stood up and exposed Bob. After George exposed Bob, we all know that they changed their website to state that he has a background in engineering and that he is not a professional engineer. It is very, let's say, I would say you should be very much pissed at Bob for this if you've ever supported him. If you've ever liked his videos, shared his videos, or for God's sakes, if you've ever donated to the FE Core, Bob, or anyone he works with, I think you should be very, I don't know, I shouldn't have to describe this, but let me tell you why. You should be very mad at him. Because Jaron, Morgile, Karen, I mean, every single person that Bob Knodel works with, every single person that speaks at the FEIC convention, they call themselves a truther. They push their presence on YouTube based off of them being willing to tell you the truth and to show you even the most horrible truth, not ever hiding anything from you so that you get reality from them. That's their whole shtick. Why wouldn't they, if they found out somebody that they worked really closely with was lying to their very viewers, why wouldn't they stand up and call them out? Why wouldn't Jaron call Bob out and say, Bob, you can't lie to our viewers or it makes you just as bad as the people hiding NASA, people hiding the ISS, whatever they think. Let's put ourselves in their shoes for a minute. Normally I don't talk like this because it's just common sense. But when you're dealing with a group of people that lack common sense, sometimes you got to get basic. The fact that Bob would lie about this should infuriate every flat earther out there. I don't know why I have to say it, being a Glober. The fact that Jaron doesn't call Bob out, but has the nerve to sit and call Neil Armstrong out when he has hardcore evidence that Bob Knodel is a liar and a con man, but literally is going off of his gut feeling and no hard evidence at all that Neil Armstrong is a con man or lied about what he did, is very indicative to say that Jaron, that, what's his name, the Morgile, and that Karen B., that Robbie Davidson, that Nathan Thompson are all liars. They are all people who are trying to make money off of their following. Calling out Bob would fracture their community. There'd be a group of people that wouldn't care and would stay, liking Bob, and there would be a group of people that would like Karen or like Jaron, and they wouldn't want to turn on Bob. So Jaron knows this, Nathan Thompson knows this, and of course, they can't call out Bob. If they do, then they're going to lose money, basically. It's just logical. There's no argument about it. We know this would happen. On top of the other things I've said, let's go ahead and let it keep playing. You got the evidence in front of you here. If you're in denial, if you think it didn't happen, you can go to the link on the Wayback Machine. It cannot be manipulated. You can see it for yourself. But it gets even deeper than this, because now I can prove to you that Bob is a straight-out con man. I mean straight out, even worse than ever before. And we've already 100% identified him. Let's let it go, and we'll get to it. The FEIC website has been retroactively edited to hide Bob's claim that he was an electrical engineer. The claim appears on all of the archives up until December 13th of 2018, when it was mysteriously changed from, quote, professional engineer to, quote, background in engineering. And this was all done after George checked on your status as a professional engineer, Bob, and exposed you as a liar and a fraud in a video that you subsequently had taken down due to an alleged privacy violation. Now, what does this tell you about Bob Knodel? Not only is he willing to lie to you, not only does he demonize George, put George down and insult him and flip out on him, he then calls himself the truther. He says that he's being suppressed and censored, and every other flat earther is being suppressed and censored, when we know that the FE Core files false strikes on people that try to show evidence against FE Core and Bob. If FE Core and Bob were, let's say, had this big, massive following, and it was going so great, they wouldn't care if somebody showed evidence against them. It wouldn't even bother them. But the fact that he's going to file false strikes against people to try to hide things about him that he doesn't want his audience to know, not only does that stack on the other things you've seen, he's like a triple fraud at this point. This is important. You need to hear all of this before I go into my next point. This is actually a really big presentation. Let's let it keep going for a second. What has he done to George? He calls him names. He tries to tell everybody that George is trying to get somebody's job taken away. Well, what is it when you go around filing false strikes on YouTubers? You're trying to take their job away. You are making their YouTube channel in bad standing with their employer, YouTube, and you're making it harder for them to do their job. So Bob has been proven a hypocrite on many levels that start stacking up after a while. George has subsequently made another video on this, which can be found on his channel, called Bob Knodel, Still a Liar, Still a Fraud, and Really Stupid. Link in the description. Now, I disagree with George on one point. I think in order for Bob to be this devious, to be this dubious, to be this much of a manipulator, he can't really be that stupid. What he is a liar. He's dishonest. And he is a con man. He has ascended to the level of being more than a false striker. He's ascended to the level of being more than just a manipulator. He's now a straight con man because he's doing all of this to try to save a few dollars. Wants to make sure his reputation, not in the world, not to normal people, but to those that he dupes, he wants to make sure his reputation is preserved. And you already know that Jaron and everyone else that these guys work with are indicted along with Bob because they're not willing to call him out here either. He has to make George the ultimate troll. He has to make George the bad guy. Because if he doesn't, people are going to find George's video, and they're going to start. Let's go ahead and close that. We're done with that one. He's going to find the video, and he's going to start. People are going to start realizing that Bob is well worse than just some guy on the internet spinning a conspiracy theory. So George does a great video. This is the video that's linked in the video we just watched that I did source for you. This is over on George's page. Bob Knodel, still a liar, still a fraud, and really stupid. This is Bob Knodel speaking in an FE Core hangout that was broadcasted. Listen to what he says. Now that you've been shown the direct evidence of what he was willing to do to try to hide what he did from his audience, listen to what he says.
The use of the word engineer is regulated, isn't it? What licensed engineers does FE Core have on staff to be able to?
Now, this is a comment. This is either a super chat or just a regular comment asking them a question during their FE Core hangout, and he's about to answer it.
Use that name, worth addressing. Okay, great. Yeah, we can address that. No, the word engineer is not regulated. An engineer, you know, if you're speaking in terms of engineers have to have specific degrees or anything like that, that's probably what most people accept. And yes, we have many degreed engineers on staff, but there are many forms of engineering.
This is the wrong answer. You know, I know, everyone out there knows if you went to college and you earned an engineering degree and you were a professional engineer for 35 years and somebody stood up out there on the internet and said, I'm going to go fact check whether you're an engineer, you wouldn't flip out. You wouldn't go around changing websites. You wouldn't lie to your audience and strike videos and go to such a degree to try to prevent this information from getting out there. That's, though, provably what Bob did. And when he's asked this question, does he say, I don't care if you check my engineering degree. I don't care if you check if I'm registered. I don't care what you check because I am the thing I claim to be. No, he doesn't say that. He says anyone can call themselves an engineer with no, bad thing happening to them because it's not regulated. He's admitting here that he went and checked to see if you could get in trouble for claiming to be an engineer when you're not. What he found out is that you can't get in trouble if you call yourself an engineer. So he started calling himself an engineer. He's not saying, hey, go check me. Hey, don't worry, just go look my name up. Go find out if I'm an engineer. You're going to be mad when you find out I am one. That's what any normal person would say. No, he literally is so crazy, he's so worried about this, he's so mad about it. When he's asked during the FE Core thing, he's like, no, we don't have to. We could call ourselves engineer if we shovel some dirt in our backyard. We can call ourselves an engineer then.
And so the use of the word engineer is not something that is regulated, or if you're in the case of George, he thinks that everybody has to be a member of the Professional Engineers Society to be able to be considered an engineer. Nothing could be further from the truth. And in fact, you don't even have to have a degree to be an engineer. Engineers, you could run a train and be called engineers. So the short answer to your question is absolutely not. But believe me when I tell you that everybody on this board and most of the people in FE Core are credentialed.
Wolfie, I love your channel. You can post anything you want in my chat as long as it's not against YouTube guidelines. I'm just messing with you. Yeah, you can post anything you want, man. I went ahead and wrenched you. Thanks for being here, Wolfie. I very much appreciate it. Love your content.
Credentialed engineers and have every right to use that term, okay?
Let's take a moment now to examine what Bob Knodel has just said. Nowhere have I ever stated that in order for an individual to be calling himself an engineer, he has to be licensed as a professional engineer.
Well, that's because Bob is a liar. He really is. Now, we're going to come back to this video in a while, but I want to make sure that I show you confirmed evidence that Bob is willing to lie in order to preserve the donations and the image of FE Core. And FE Core has filed a lot of strikes. I went, and I'm going to have to go to my front. I am very sorry, audience, but I cannot show you the website that I'm about to go to. If I show it to you, they will give me false strikes, even though it's a public website and I should have under every YouTube regulation, I have the ability to go there and show it to you. If I do it, they'll strike me. So I'm going to go to my front screen. Now, what I saw when I went to the FE Core site, there's been a lot of changes. They only list a few people as being a member of the FE Core, which I found strange. Now, one thing they've done is added a way for you to join the FE Core. You can either pay $25, $50, or $125. Basically, it's just a scam to get money out of people, in my opinion. But the interesting thing that I found is that they are now still calling themselves a 501c charity. We all know that they are keeping the donations that they get. We all know that these donations are not a charity. But we know from people like Sly Sparkane and others who have been false struck for showing the information that when they went and checked to see if this was a 501c, they found that they were not a 501c. Now, I'm not saying something hasn't changed in the last couple months that would make the FE Core a 501c charity. It could have. But I'm saying that the people out there who know what they're doing when it comes to these 501cs, I implore you to please check again for me. Joelbot, can you grab that link that Wolfie dropped so that I can open it? Because my chat's moving oh, I found it. Copy link address, and bam. Federal Aviation Administration, Airman Inquiry Search Page. I don't really know how to spell Bob's last name. Knodell. Okay, requires last name. Well, let me search for Knodel. Brad Knodel, Clayton Knodel, Stephen Knodel, and Tommy Luther Knodel. Could Bob be Stephen William? Isn't William shortened to Bob? Maybe that's him. Private pilot, 5/11 of 1970, single engine land. Huh. Yeah, Wolfie is a legend, dude. Robert L. Knodel. Yeah, he's not in here. Well, he is not in here, Wolfie. He 100% is not in here. I would show everybody the page, but Wolfie dropped the link and you can go to it yourself. But I am not going to pull this up because it contains these other people's first, middle, and last names, and I just don't, show them here. But okay, so what I want to show you now is a little bit of, well, let me tell you a story really quick that 100% is related to what's going on. Back in 2017, beginning of 2018, I started to look into a conspiracy theory called Q, and it led down a giant rabbit hole. It led me and all the people in my Discord server and everybody that helped me research into finding out that something we didn't think would be true. We started to find evidence that there was a group of people that were telling these other YouTubers what to say, when to say it, how to say it, and that they were basically creating the conspiracy theory that they put out on a website in order to go to YouTube and take the content, attach it to other conspiracies, and get a lot of views, share it around. Many of you guys, oh, there goes my mic. Many of you guys were around for that investigation and to all those live streams we did. We eventually identified who was posting the information, and it led us to several groups of people, but the biggest group, not the biggest, but the most powerful of the group contained somebody named Robert David Steele, Fiona Barnett, a few others that I could name, but I don't care to go into it. Now, one thing about these people, they are frauds. We have researched into their claims, like I did a video on my other channel, the Red Pill to Pay the Bills channel, RP to PB. We looked at Fiona Barnett's claims, where a person went through and built a 117 or 170 page packet that took every claim from Fiona Barnett and showed things like that she never even was, she said that there was an elderly couple that were her grandparents. They weren't her grandparents, and it was proven in the packet. She said that they lived at a certain address. It wasn't their address. It was proven in the packet. They invented brothers and sisters of Fiona Barnett that weren't brothers and sisters of her, proven in the packet, and she basically created this whole conspiracy theory. I'm not going to go into it any further, But the point is, once she started to get attention and her conspiracy went viral, thanks to them sharing in all these little groups and circles on Twitter and Facebook, helping them share the stuff, she teamed up with somebody called Robert David Steele. He wound up going on InfoWars once he started to get attention. He claimed he was ex-CIA, all this crazy dumb stuff I'm not going to go into. They both, though, it's like the head leaders of several conspiracies joined together and formed something called the International Tribunal of Natural Justice. And let me show it to you. International Tribunal of Natural Justice. Now, I'm not going to go into these guys or their conspiracy because that would take forever. You can find, if you are interested in this, you can find videos that I've done that show you all the details on the International Tribunal of Natural Justice, what it is. It's fake. It is just a couple people that used conspiracy theory as a viral marketing tool to attract people to a fake court where they held a fake court that had no jurisdiction anywhere with a fake constitution that they tried to get their conspiracy theory viewers to sign, and then they'd get them in this mindset to continue following what they told them to follow, donate where they told them to donate. It's almost like the ultimate viral marketing scam hidden on YouTube behind conspiracy theories. You can even search it, International Tribunal of Natural Justice, and go to their YouTube page. And when you scroll down under videos, you see some of the key players, but the main player that I want you to see right now is a guy, Robert David Steele. There's Fiona Barnett, and Robert David Steele is this guy wearing that. He was the pretend judge for this conspiracy court, a fake conspiracy court. I fully exposed these people a year and a half ago, and thought we would never talk about them again. But I remember saying something back then, because I still talked about Flat Earth back then and exposed things about the Flat Earth all that time ago. And I did say that I thought that as Flat Earth started to flatline and more people woke up to the fact that they were being lied to about this, that only the religious would be left, and that they would end up teaming up with these other people to try to continue their conspiracy reach, right? You've already got these guys that have banded together, the leaders of other crazy conspiracy theories, into something they can make sustainable. Why would they not team up with the Flat Earthers after the Flat Earth flatlined if the Flat Earthers are truly con men? Well, wait until you see what I got for you up next. Okay. Now, the reason why I thought that I would fail this prediction, this conspiracy prediction, is because it would literally be insane for Bob Knodel or the FE Corps to team up with these guys. They are not religious. In fact, they are the opposite. These guys really do lie about a lot of things, and it's so obvious that they're just really money-hungry, evil people. They say a lot of evil things, and they do a lot of really bad things. So, you know, typically religious conspiracy theorists will not team up with other people that are doing and saying bad, you know, really nasty things. I'm trying to say this without triggering YouTube's demonetization system. It's hard to talk sometimes when you're worrying about censorship. Anyway, though, we now need to go into a live stream that GlobeBusters did yesterday. See moderate extremist last comment. Oh, man, it's way up there, dude. This is moving fast. Here we go. I think I found it. Robert Knodel. His call sign was AO something or other. Okay, awesome. I just want to make sure that you do not, don't post things like that in the chat. YouTube doesn't like it. Just saying. You know, like, people's identifying information. It's not like, against the rules. I just don't want to post it in my chat, but thank you. And yes, his license did expire a long time ago, which would disqualify him for being called a pilot now, definitely. And he is lying there, so he is lying about both. So that's the one thing we can determine about Bob Knodel. He is an absolute liar. But now we're going to go into what GlobeBusters did yesterday. They did this stream that just so happened to get 10,000 views. Their streams don't really tend to do that well. At least they haven't lately, right? They do have some that pop up there, right? This is getting views really quick, right? Which makes me think that it was shared around with a little bit of a boost. And I'll get into that way later. Because, I love to track analytics, and I love to try to see how people are trying to game a system in order to get some views on YouTube and, maybe pay this guy with a big Twitter to share something, even though you'd think that a truther would never do something that strange, right? GlobeBusters did this video, and it has a lot of stuff in it that I think you're all going to find really interesting, especially if you watched my content back when I exposed Robert David Steele all those years ago. Actually, I'm going to go to it and play it for you. But do you know how they got here? Now, you know that they kind of teamed up with Owen Benjamin. Owen Benjamin is known for working with InfoWars. It's really strange. He starts losing a lot of his favor with his audience. He starts getting a lot lower views, and he's not making as much money. Next thing you know, Owen Benjamin winds up talking to someone from InfoWars, and then he goes on the broadcast. Now, after going into the moon landing thing, you could understand how he has inundated Owen Benjamin with flat earthers that also believe in the moon landing conspiracy. If you didn't know, that's when Owen Benjamin went really far downhill. After InfoWars, he was talking about the moon landing conspiracy and then started to entertain having a flat earther on his show, even though he stated that he knew because he went to college and he went to school that the earth wasn't flat. He would entertain talking to Eric Dubay. It fell through, though, because Owen Benjamin's supreme narcissism clashed with Eric Dubay's supreme narcissism, and I documented all of that on my live streams. Eventually, though, he was provided DITRH. Now, you guys know that he's a flat earther who is on the FE Corps, who works with Bob Knodel on everything he does. Bob, Jaron, all of those guys. In fact, Dirt, as I like to call him, was someone that used to help Jaron do his streams. Dearth was the one that Owen Benjamin ended up having on his show. Is that significant here? I think so. And what I'm about to tell you is just my opinion. But because of what we found out about Robert David Steele and the ITNJ, what we know about Owen Benjamin working with InfoWars, and then after Dearth gets Obenge to allow him on his show, what happens? Dearth himself winds up on InfoWars. I think with a little bit of certainty, I can tell you that they used Owen Benjamin as a way to kind of bump into InfoWars and get on that show. And I think it is no coincidence that after Dearth goes on InfoWars, Bob Knodel starts to shout out Robert David Steele and the International Tribunal for Natural Justice. Also, after I show you this clip, several of these clips, I'm going to talk to you about how bad that really is. This is the downturn of the conspiracy. What we see is that it seems like there's a group out there that likes to buy out conspiracies, or at least try to dupe conspiracy theorists that are leaders of movements into joining into their movement, and then try to mix it all together. And they do this every time their conspiracy starts to bottom out. Once it hits its absolute lowest point, the money's not coming in like it used to, views aren't coming in like it used to, censorship happens, you lose a channel. Often we see, just like with Owen Benjamin teaming up over there on InfoWars, now we see GlobeBusters do it, and now they're shouting out someone that works with InfoWars. Who is that? Robert David Steele. Let's take a look really quick. Also in this stream, Bob Knodel lies a lot, and he fulfills one of my other predictions that I made. I told you that while we were covering the FBIC 2019, that Bob Knodel and all of his buddies would start lying about what happened, even though there was video evidence, after the fact. This stream proved me right over and over and over. Hayes, I couldn't have said it any better myself. He says, these people are really going through a last Hail Mary attempt to save the flat earth. You are not kidding.
The Americans are lying, and by debunking the moon.
How everything is tied to NASA all the time. The other space agency all works with NASA. NASA is the ultimate authority to confirm everything from the Big Bang, because the satellite that confirmed the Big Bang is from NASA. The only space agency that put a man on another celestial body is.
So InfoWars and GlobeBusters now have teamed up, and what they are doing, in my opinion, is really bad. They are trying to push a lot of anti-USA, anti-American propaganda, and they're trying to employ big YouTubers in other countries to help them do it. They, in fact, are talking about having a big movement where a lot of Brazilian YouTubers are starting to push all of this anti-NASA stuff, thanks to GlobeBusters teaming up with InfoWars down in Brazil, also in Mexico. There's a lot of South American countries, for some reason, where Bob is teaming up with them through Eru, I believe his name is, and he just admits it willingly in this stream. But what we're going to look at is when they start talking about how bad NASA is, how bad America is, and then they go in to the ITNJ. And one thing you'll know if you saw any of my content exposing the ITNJ a year and a half ago or whenever it was, you'll know that they carry the heaviest anti-American sentiment out of any conspiracy I've ever seen that mixes with politics.
It's NASA. Everything is NASA, NASA, NASA. And when you go to the CIA, for example, they call NASA because it's not a space agency. So, yeah. I mean,
yeah.
What a joke, right?
Which is a perfect segue into this next section. I'm going to cover this really quick.
I couldn't have said it any better myself, Bob. That is a perfect segue into the next section. A bunch of anti-America, anti-USA rhetoric is the perfect segue into this next section. Yes.
Before we do that, okay, and then let me actually kick over. Let me reshare with you guys, if I'm not already. Let's see. Nope. I'm not. Okay.
Later, either should address that video from the Russians claiming that NASA did not go to the moon.
Oh, from the Russians, Eru. Well, now we're getting into the Russians, are we? Weird that you guys go here all of a sudden when Bob Knodel starts to say this.
Which was very odd because they're claiming that the Russians are actually orbiting something. Remember the one that you shared? Yeah. Because that's a whole other sort of odd take on it, right? They tried to say that the Russians were actually going, that the Americans are lying, and by debunking the moon landing. So
the Americans, man, they're liars. They're just real bad liars, aren't they, Eru? They're just evil.
Interesting.
That was interesting.
According to Eru.
Okay. So,
very
all right.
Good, yeah.
So segueing into not a space agency, I have two clips that I'm going to show. One of them, of course, is the abbreviated version that David Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole put together. And
David Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole put this together. That's weird because he's the guy that talked to Obinge, and then he's the guy that wound up on InfoWars. I'm sure it doesn't mean anything. I'm sure that I'm just crazy. I'm just a crazy conspiracy theorist myself.
And I'm going to play that first, and then many people have said, well, you probably just took that completely out of context. Well, I just so happen to have the entire presentation here, and I'm going to play a little bit more of it.
What is on that screen. What is that on his screen? ITNJ Judicial Commission. Well, why is there an issue here? Because the ITNJ is a fake kangaroo court. I've proven this beyond any shadow of a doubt. It was invented by several YouTube conspiracy theorists. It pushed an anti free speech, anti-freedom agenda, an anti-American agenda. We went through all of this a couple of years ago, and it blew up really big on the internet once I exposed this. You're telling me, Bob, that now, after doing what Dearth did, he put this together? Check, check, and check. Got it.
On that, to put it in context, and believe me, when you do that, it's even worse than you would imagine, right? So
I couldn't have said this any better myself, Bob. It is way worse than I could have imagined. I literally only said that a long time ago that you guys would team up with the ITNJ and these guys. I only said that because it was like the next logical step, but even I didn't believe it, and I thought it would take years before it would happen, but your conspiracy movement did flatline really quick. You lost money really fast, so I guess it's logical.
This guy, David Steele, is one of...
You notice how he calls him David Steele? You realize what he's doing. He's kind of trying to rebrand him the littlest bit. If you go search for David Steele, you might find some of the stuff on Robert David Steele. But for the most part, you're probably not going to. He doesn't want his audience to find the stuff about Robert David Steele, because it will then expose the fact that this guy is a fraud, a con man, somebody that uses conspiracy theory as viral marketing to pull people into his movement, so then he can steer them where he wants them to go monetarily, but also politically, because he does work with certain entities out there that have a political agenda. And I proved this. Some of the people that he worked with admitted it when they were breaking down out of money, kicked out of their group. The words they used was political, I forget, it was not political infiltrator. Somebody will type it in the chat. Just pay attention as it goes on.
One of the justices at the inquiry into human trafficking, ITNJ Judicial Commission.
It's fake, though. This is completely fake. It is 100% fabricated. There is no ITNJ. It's not recognized by any government, any state, any country. This literally is an act that was put on by these guys to try and up their conspiracy when it flatlined at the end of 2016 into 17. When they started losing money, they started pushing this fake court to try to amp up the people that were convinced of their conspiracy. Anyway.
At this big summit that they had, International Tribunal of Natural Justice. Okay, so first of all, let's go ahead and play.
I do not believe that Bob Knodel is so dumb that he just bought this, that he just believed it. You literally can't search this stuff without finding absolute evidence that it's just something thrown together to be broadcasted out on YouTube. There is no inquiry into this by these people. These people are not judges. They're not investigators. They're not lawyers. They're YouTubers, for God's sakes.
Play this from David Weiss, and we'll get the abbreviated version. Here we go.
Philosopher of nonsense, I would not be surprised if Russian disinformation efforts are behind flat earthers. They've been doing a lot to attack countries like the U.S., and this is another form of dividing the USA. You couldn't be more right. I proved that about this guy on the screen. This is insane. I didn't believe when it was brought to me. When Rachel brought it to me, I didn't believe her. I said, don't even start that crap. I'm like, you didn't check your sources. This is crazy. She's like, I got it in a GlobeBusters video. I said that this would happen. I was like, yeah, so when GlobeBusters starts losing money, they're going to go team up with the ITNJ and start pushing that crap. He's not ever been proven to be a former senior officer at the CIA. He's never been able to provide evidence that he was, that I've seen. But I'll be damned if he doesn't say it every chance he gets.
When Alan Dulles brought in all the...
Ask yourself a few questions right now. Why is this man dressed like a judge? Why is this man sitting in front of this lower third? This whole graphic right here is called a lower third. Why is he sitting in front of that lower third? How did it get formed? What is this right here? Where did all this come from? Well, you can watch my video on it if you want, but I can sum it up for you. If you need all the evidence, it's in my video. In fact, I'll just go through it in a little bit because this is messed up. Anyway, though, this is a fake little stamp that they created. They mimicked a few other, seals in order to make that. This is all just created by Robert David Steele and the other people that help him. Judicial Commission. They just use that to fool really gullible people into believing that they have some type of court authority. They don't, though. Anyway, let's hear what he has to say.
Nazi scientists and so forth, they went to two places. They went to CIA and they went to the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, which in our world we call it not a space agency, which in our world we call it...
Are you kidding me, Bob? This is what you've got here? This is what you've got? Because I'm about to destroy it.
Not a space agency. And as Kathy O'Brien has said so clearly, that's where the bulk of the mind control is.
Now, some people would say to me that it's just crazy conspiracy to think that because Dearth got on Owen Benjamin's show is why he got on InfoWars. And because Dearth went on InfoWars is because why now he is shouting out David Steele or Robert David Steele, and then to say that he was told to do it after going on InfoWars, after they did the FEIC, right? Do an event, get a bunch of people interested in what you're doing, and then try to push them towards a political type of agenda. Why would they want to do that? Because there's money in these political agendas. I don't know how many of the people we looked into ended up either admitting, my God, one of the guys turned on his friend and ended up sharing all of his receipts. And we had receipt after receipt after receipt of these guys getting paid to do these little political operations. It was all about a year and a half ago. You remember it. There were YouTubers that had been on the platform for years, 10,000, 20,000. One of them is up to 90,000 subs now, who was getting paid money to push specific conspiracies that would lead people towards a political thing that they were trying to push in their head. That was proven. It was factual. I can't even go through the amount of evidence that we found and the amount of evidence that we put out over here. But now to see them do this, yes, it's because they went on InfoWars. It's because they teamed up with Obenge, and they would never have done it if they would have been making money. When they started losing a lot of money, they've created an infrastructure. They've got an entire FE core with all these members. Some of them pay for it, but the majority of them make money from it. When you get a bunch of people making money, they don't want to lose money. They don't want to be paid less. And as the Flat Earth movement has started to die, they probably haven't been able to come up with the paychecks that they need to give to the many members of their core and the many YouTubers that they promised their paychecks to. So what do you do when you're out of cash? What do you do when your conspiracy movement dries up? Well, historically, as we've seen, they try to team up with other, pockets of conspiracy YouTubers that are, pushing a political message, most likely because they're being paid to do so. In two cases, I've proven that they were, one by admission and the other by receipts. But yes, I do think that there's no coincidence now. When they went on InfoWars, I said, yeah, they're going to be freaking doing this as a joke, and now here it is in front of your face.
Okay, so this guy is the ITNJ chief counsel.
No, he's not. The ITNJ is fake, Bob. You know this. There's no way you don't know this.
Robert David Steele. So, I mean, he's not just some schmuck, right? He's been...
Yes, he is a schmuck. He's a con man. My God, dude. You could have, instead of just, kicking me out of your chat, you could have listened to me. I don't know. You could have, actually looked at my content and seen that factually that is exactly what he is, a con man and a liar. And
intelligence, CIA, FBI intelligence. He's been through the gamut and everything.
He has not been through the gamut. Do you know what this guy said, Bob? Do you just not research anything, Bob? Do you know his claim? Do any of you remember his claim? So this guy is a little bit responsible for Alex Jones getting a whole bunch of shit a while back, because he went on InfoWars and told the entire world, back when InfoWars was on YouTube, that NASA was kidnapping young people and transporting them to Mars to work physical labor on the surface of Mars. That came from that guy. In fact, I almost guarantee you I can find a website that talks about this. Robert David Steele, Mars. Oh, here it is. Oh, that was easy. No, I'm not disabling my ad blocker. New conspiracy theory, children blanked for Mars blank colony. Even in the age of free-flying conspiracies, this one's a doozy. On Thursday, a guest on Alex Jones' show named Robert David Steele, or as Bob is calling him, David Steele, claimed that Mars is inhabited by people sent to the red planet against their will. Quote, "We eventually believe there is a colony on Mars that is populated by blank, who were blank-napped and sent into space on a 20-year ride, so that once they get to Mars, they've got no alternative but to be blank on the Mars colony." Steele told Jones, the founder of the controversial InfoWars website. It is unclear why this ride would take 2 decades. It's just a 6 to 9 month to reach Mars using current propulsion. Perhaps Steele believes that the blank-napped blanks return to Earth as adults 20 years after being spirited away. Whatever the details may be, Jones seemed open to the possibility. Quote, "Look how that 90% of the NASA missions are secret, and I've been told by high-level NASA engineers that you've got no idea," Jones told Steele, who the show billed as a CIA. Now, hold on, Bob. Now, Bob, I'm sorry to say this. I'm starting to get my mind turning. Like, there's this damn thing that my head does, Bob. It's called thinking. How in the world do you believe Robert David Steele when you don't believe that we can send rockets into space? Okay? How in the world do you believe that they can land kids on Mars when you don't even think that Mars is a physical planet? All right? Aren't you validating NASA's abilities to launch rockets, enter space, and break through the dome if they can take kids and hoist them away to the red planet? All these things are just rushing through my mind, Bob. But then again, this isn't about the truth anyway. This isn't about reality. This is about Bob Knodel, most likely, in my opinion, being paid to push this BS.
And so, the first thing I saw from people is like, oh, yeah, you just took that out of context. That couldn't have possibly.
He's willing to take a quote from this man and use it as a damn source. If you're going to do that, Bob, then you must say that his other quotes, his other statements, his other thoughts are also valid. If you're going to say that his other statements aren't valid, then you can't use this statement.
Been what he meant, but like I said, we're going to show this in context, and I'm going to play about a 2-minute segment out of this to kind of give you an idea what is actually going on in this conference.
Now, I'll tell you right now, Bob, before you play this, what's actually going on in this conference. These guys need money, and they've been pushing conspiracies about children for years on YouTube. They said that the Democrats would barbecue young people. Damn it, algorithm, leave me alone. They said that Hillary Clinton had really sharp teeth and had lizard skin underneath her regular skin, and that she was a goblin. They said that a pizza place in D.C. was being used as a hub for these nefarious activities. Yeah, remember that conspiracy? That's what this is. The leftovers from the pizza shop were boxed up and opened into the court of the ITNJ long ago so that they could try to capitalize on anyone left that believed their stupid conspiracy theories that were pushed without evidence long ago. And now that Bob and Derf have teamed up with InfoWars, magically they're pushing segments of Robert David Steele dressed in his fake kangaroo court outfit playing judge.
How can you take out of content that explicit words?
Well, that's all I'm doing is I'm trying to appease the ballers, even though they don't give a crap anyway, but I'm going to show
Oh, you're not appeasing the ballers. In fact, you are handing us more ammunition than you've ever handed us before. There is no good reason why Bob would believe this. In fact, Bob knows. Bob knows for a fact. He's the type of guy that watches that type of content. He knows what David Steele Robert has claimed in the past. He knows that he claims that we can launch rockets and that they take kids and kidnap them and send them to Mars, and that pizzerias are used as the hub for the evil Democrat ways. He knows all of this. So why is he pretending like he doesn't know Robert David Steele's other claims so that he can cherry pick this Robert David quote out of context? Well, you know. Yeah, I know, because he was slid a little bit of cashish under the table in that InfoWars office room.
Show this anyway, because we are going to hear a rebuttal on it. So
I think it's much worse because it is on human trafficking, and I know of Kathy O'Brien. So I mean, the context is it's like going deep into the training that they do.
Well, you know what I should do? I should debunk Eru right now. There's just literally so much evidence I could use, I don't know what to pick from. The ITNJ is a fake court invented by failed conspiracy theorists that are seeking to gain a little bit more money out of their gullible followers. So they created a website that looks like a real website. They created a seal that mimics other government seals, and they created a treaty and a constitution, then dressed up in as judges and lawyers and put on fake court, and had other conspiracy theorists, namely people like Fiona Barnett, con men and con women, all of them proven with hard evidence. In fact, the last time Fiona Barnett showed her face on the internet, she created a new Twitter account and used DNAJ Lion 7, another con man YouTuber, to try to give her a little bit of boost on her new Twitter. When she did this, I went to my other channel and did a full presentation on every fact that shows Fiona is a liar. What did she do? As soon as I ended the stream, deleted all of her new social media accounts and ran away and tucked tail again, knowing that anyone that searched her name was going to find my stream and have it proven to them that she's a con. Therefore, I hang around if everybody already knows who you are. Anyway, though, if you click ratify the treaty, it'll take you to their fake treaty that says things like this. And this is why, Bob, it's so bad that you did this. You are outing yourself as even more of a con man, even more of a liar, and somebody who's willing to sell out their following so that you can make a couple political dollars under the table. Man, if you click this is on their webpage. It says Treaty of the ITNJ, mandating the formation of the ITNJ. Why do they need a treaty from their followers signing it in order to mandate it if it's an actual legit court mandated by a government? Because it's not. It's fake. I am a man or woman hereby mandate the International Tribunal for Natural Justice by my ratification of this, the Treaty of the International Tribunal for Natural Justice, voluntarily, freely, and absent any outside influence, coercion, or duress, have attended the age of majority and being in full control of my mental and physical faculties. They want your name. They want your email. They want the land, on the land known as, which is their insane way of trying to get you to forego the government and constitution of the country that you live in, having awakened to the truth that since the moment of our birth we have been contracted to corporate institutions which by their very nature serve neither people nor planet, and in hereby revoking in earnest all such contracts which have blinded, encumbered, and sought to separate us from the most noble expression, we now claim a rightful place in the world which the supreme creator within has provided for us all, as equals amongst all, and will take such action as to ensure the restoration of truth and justice for all people of the world. We have met with such truth as we come to know it, understand it, and embrace it. Isn't that weird? You don't really... The truth as you've come to know it? Well, that's weird because that's called an opinion. The truth is what we got. It's a ball. Rob donated $1 and it says none. Thanks, dude. The truth isn't something as you come to know it. The truth is the truth. The truth is a fact. if the truth that you come to know, the truth that belongs to you, is your opinion. Weird that they worded it that way, is it not? And now chose to be ruled by it for the rest of our days. That's right. Robert David Steele wants you to forego the country that you live in. All laws, all rules, all constitutions, all fellowship, all patriotism, and act like you have left that state, left that country, left that city, left that place, and wants you to actualize through the online fake treaty here that you then give yourself to Robert David Steele's new galactic country. Also recognize in that truth that law in its purest form requires nothing more or less than what we each do no harm. There's no laws in Robert David Steele's new country. You can do whatever you want as long as you don't hurt somebody. But what happens when you hurt somebody? How does that work? What happens then? Maybe we'll find out if we keep reading. Harm in any form is only ever caused by natural persons, regardless of whether or not the natural person may claim to be operating under corporate dictate, color of law, or otherwise. You know what's weird? I've heard all of this before. Have you? I know where I heard it. I heard all of this when laughing at, what are those guys called? Sovereign citizens. That's right, they've taken basic sovereign citizen type legal mumbo jumbo and combined it with the Constitution and treaty and tried to get you to forego your country to accept theirs. And the freaking flatties now are getting in on this. Harm in any form is only ever capable of being suffered by natural persons, regardless of whether or not the harm suffered may have been so suffered through a natural person's artificial externalities. God knows what that means. Neither corporate immunity nor collar of right can indemnify a natural person for harm caused to another. No natural person is bound by the unlawful ruling of a de facto court where they are not a consenting party with full knowledge of the manner and when their consent is given. That is the basic play out of the sovereign citizen playbook. That way, if you get in trouble, you can stand up and say, I don't consent to your court, your law, or your country, even though I'm standing on your ground, and I choose that I don't have to obey your law because I obey the law of Robert David Steele and now GlobeBusters. We, the natural men and women of the world, pursuant to the ultimate goal of realizing equal rights and dignity for each member of the human family, hereby mandate the International Tribunal for Natural Justice. The tribunal shall exist and function according to the Constitution of the International Tribunal for Natural Justice, as included by reference herein. Now, here's where it gets funky. Real funky. Play something funky for me, big guy. That's not funky. That's funky. Thank you. Let this message go forth from the time and place to all the people of the world that the right, the wrongs done to them, and the vindication of their rights and enforcement of just cause to hold accountable those responsible for breaches of human rights is proclaimed that the International Tribunal for Natural Justice is hereby established pursuant to the treaty and Constitution. Well, that would mean that the treaty relies on the Constitution. This is the Constitution. Let's take a look at it. Constitution of the International Tribunal for Natural Justice states, it is a living document. Wonder what that means. And amendments will be considered by the ITNJ Board of Trustees on an annual basis. The ITNJ was inaugurated on June 15 of 2015, and the Board of Trustees began meeting in 2016 for the first formal review of suggestions for changes and amendments to the Constitution. Your suggestions and questions related to the content wording of the ITNJ may be sent to the register. Well, that's weird. That's not what it used to say. So when you get here, it basically is just this junky, fake, crazy, weird document that states that if you get in trouble, you'll be judged by this court and not your own court. And I know it sounds crazy because what's going to happen if you go to another country and break the law or break the law in the United States? They're going to take you to court. They're going to arrest you. It's not going to help you to stand up and claim that the ITNJ's there. This isn't real. If it was real, it would help you. If it was real, you'd be able to use this when you go to court And it's funny that Bob Knodel is now succumbing to the monetary gains of teaming up with people like Robert David Steele to try to get him new followers without even going to his website and reading his fake Constitution. But there is one other problem. I think that people like you and me should be patriotic to the countries that we live in, or just go find another country to live in. I think that we should, do the right thing for the societies that we're hanging out in or whatever. And I'm a veteran, I don't think that I would never sign another constitution. I would never forego my own constitution. And GlobeBusters, you've crossed a new low, demanding that any person from whatever country they're from should literally take a piss on that country just so that they can help you and Robert David Steele make a couple extra bucks with your fake kangaroo court.
And we know that the astronauts, in Chris Hadfield's book, he talks about the rectal probes and everything, and the questioning they go through. That is just code for what's going on here.
Did Iru just say that the astronauts go through rectal probes? There's only one thing I got to say about that.
So
yeah, you watch this entire presentation, and I will put it in the show notes, everybody. It is it'll freeze your soul. It's really bad. So let's put this in context. Here we go.
Rather than have three questions, this is a collection.
Do you notice what he just did? Do you notice how they all clapped and then he cut to them talking? Like, they're like, we just got to make sure that clap is at the beginning. It'll make it valid, okay? Just cut over to another scene. We need the clap. Don't just start where they're talking. Make sure you cut a clap in to the front of it.
Question, and it's directed not so much to you, Christy, but to Chief Counsel here in relation to the role of the Central Intelligence Agency. We understand the abuse, the sex, the drugs and everything else, and we're wondering if Chief Counsel could comment on the advantage of the CIA being involved in these programs, and the danger.
Well, you don't have anything to worry about because the CIA is not involved in any of these programs, and Robert David Steele is a con man and a liar.
Dangers of disclosure, like when people do come out of drug-induced and sex-induced.
You see what they're doing here? You see why InfoWars picked this little clip here? Because it mentions the CIA, which in the mind of their viewers makes them think that this is legit, mentions really horrible things because they're trying to turn their flatties into also pizza-ees and Q-ees and a bunch of other type of conspiratorial people. They want to make sure that they combine these conspiracies together now that they're working for another conspiratorial entity, in my opinion.
Disturbance. I was just saying to His Grace before that...
Why did you just call him His Grace? There is no country in the world that recognizes the authority of Robert David Steele or this court. Literally, he just made some money by pushing some crazy conspiracies and ended up getting conspiratorially caught up in what he was saying, and then went live on a big giant network and told everybody that that the United States government was using NASA to traffic you-know-what to Mars to work as you-know-what in the mines. No one believed him. Everybody laughed him out of the conspiracy. Even the conspiracy theorists laughed Robert David Steele off the stage when he did that. And he went underground afterwards. And now he's resurfacing with the help of GlobeBusters.
And to my associate, Justice, that a friend of mine became addicted to cocaine and he basically lost his mind. He used to go to parties manned by leading lights in the establishment.
Okay, so, old guy, is this you asking a valid question to Robert David Steele? Or is this you just literally pouring the contents of your deranged mind out onto the crazy-looking table in front of you? You don't have a question. You're just talking about the CIA. Now you're talking about your buddy doing crack somewhere. what in the world is this? This isn't a real court, and you can just tell by listening to him talk.
Including judges, and they were served drinks and cocaine by naked girls, and that was.
Well, damn, why don't you hook me up with that party, old guy?
That was normal.
Hey, Busy, you'd have fun there. That's your everyday weekend, is it? Okay.
But he came out of it.
Yes, sicko.
And he recovered, and he wrote a book. And the book is a bestseller, and it's on the Amazon bestsellers.
Yeah, because anybody nowadays can write any propaganda-filled psycho babble into pages, and if they find enough conspiratorial nut jobs to read it, they can get on the bestseller list, right?
So some of the people who were involved ended up in prison. He didn't. And some...
Wait, so some of the people involved with him writing the book wound up in prison? But he didn't? Why didn't he go to prison? Did he turn in those people? Did he squeal on them?
Judicial reputations went down in tatters. So I was wondering if Chief Counsel...
Now remember, we're not watching some other crazy conspiracy talk. We're not watching some like Jordan Sather production talking about the crazy alien battles above us. We're not watching some crazy Q thing where this is being leaked on 8chan. Literally, we're watching the GlobeBusters right after Dearth goes on InfoWars.
Sir John, I love being sandbagged and hit over the head with a 2x4. No problem.
But you were trained for it. You're a Marine officer.
It is the obvious.
Now, listen to Robert David Steele talk. You tell me, is he this like super tough, super top secret spy guy, or is he just some loser with a high-pitched voice that dressed up like a judge?
Obvious question. Let me say that you'll have a chance to submit additional information for the record.
Why haven't you responded to a damn thing that psycho old guy said? It was valuable enough for InfoWars to clip it. Why aren't you talking? Why don't you answer the crack talk that old guy just dumped on the table?
Including names if you wish, and we can coordinate something for follow-on videos. The obvious question is, okay, you've been a senior CIA officer, and do you believe this? Yes.
You're not... Okay, do you notice what he just said? You've been a senior CIA officer, and you believe this. Once again, can anybody out there do me a favor? Can you email me evidence that he was a CIA officer? Anything. Anything at all. I'm not shitting on the guy. If he was a CIA officer, I'd like to know it. I'd like to be able to, prove it or at least reference it when I talk, because until I see evidence, I'm not going to recognize that he was a CIA officer. But just because you were a CIA officer, if you were, I'm not saying you were, but if you were one, it doesn't mean that we should trust you, for God's sakes. We don't know who's paying your freaking bill. We don't know who's putting you up to saying this. And we don't know if you've just lost your damn mind and decided to go to the freaking Halloween store and buy a judge's outfit, for God's sakes. Buy a robe. Any of those things are possible. But is it possible that you actually believe what he's saying and what you guys are saying is the truth? No. That is 0% possible. Not in any way, shape, or form.
I believe this. However, let me clarify that 90% of the people in CIA are good people trapped in a bad system. And
oh, now we see what his job is, to make the CIA look like it's really, really bad. I don't trust the CIA. I don't know if you do or not. Do I trust the FBI? Oh, hell no. But I'm not going to sit up here and make up these crazy stories and use the CIA and the FBI with no evidence whatsoever to say that it's valid. But that's what he does, right? He's somehow convinced people that because he was a person in the CIA, that his opinion is valid. He literally, I just showed you, said that the freaking government, the United States government, through NASA and the CIA, are sending kids to Mars. Are you kidding me? We're going to listen to anything this guy says, Bob?
And there are at least 7 CIAs, okay?
Oh, now there's 7 CIAs. Now we've got 7... What are you on, Robert David Steele? And Bob, what are you just played this clip, Bob? So now we're supposed to believe that conspiratorially they're hiding 6 CIAs from us?
So CIA is not a monolithic organization. Also, when we, against the orders of President Truman, when Alan Dulles brought in all the Nazi scientists...
I'm skipping ahead. I don't trust a word coming out of this guy's mouth. You shouldn't trust a word that he says either. Until if you do want to trust him, can you at least ask him why he wants you to forego your country so that you can join his fake country? Because, sorry, I think that's really a bad idea. I think him pushing conspiracy theories that devalue the United States government and your government, wherever you're at, he's got a conspiracy theory for every country in the world that he wants to collect people from. Then providing a constitution and say, hey, I just proved to you with no evidence that that country's evil. Join my country. Join my court system. Recognize Robert David Steele as the supreme judge of the world. You think that's a little bit coincidental, or do you think he's doing that on purpose? Obviously he is. If he can convince you that your country is evil, then you're going to want to leave your country and sign his thing. How many sovereign citizens did this guy create? At least 1,000, and that's a really lowball number.
Answer to your question. There is the...
You didn't answer his question because he didn't ask a question. He made a statement, and you're just putting on an act. That's how you know. Listen to what they say to each other. My God.
Wall Street CIA. CIA was actually founded by Wall Street to be its secret control element. And this is best...
Now, hold on a minute. The Wall Street founded the CIA to be a control element. Why does Wall Street have to do that? Why would the CIA be okay with that? I don't believe you. You got some sources? Can you cite some sources? Because if that's true, I'll believe it. I just need sources.
Best told in a book by David Talbot, The Devil's Chessboard.
It makes it much...
CIA.
So let's hear what Bob and Iru and those GlobeBuster guys have to say about the insanity that was just put forth in front of them.
CIA at the worst level appears to have joined now with the FBI, the NSA, and the Mossad. And so there's this aspect. And then there's the drone CIA, which has a 98% assassination rate. There's the Saudi-Israeli...
A 98%? How do you know that? If they're assassinating people, they're not advertising their assassination statistics, Robert David Steele. And if they wanted to, they could just lie to you. Assassinations are done under the table. They don't let people know about it. They'd go to jail if they did, for God's sakes. People be angry with them for assassinating people. You hear yourself talking, you ding-dong. You are the king of the ding-dongs. And I said you'd never make it back on my show. GlobeBusters, I'm pissed at you, because you made me have to play this ding-dong talking again on my show when it's been like 1.5 years since we've heard him speak.
Israeli CIA, which does rendition and torture. And then there's the real sort of CIA, the old spies like me who do their best not realizing.
You weren't a spy. You weren't a spy. We don't know if you just worked in the damn lobby. We have no clue if you just answered the phones there. One thing's for sure, every person who was a senior CIA specialist or whatever the hell you say you are, they can prove it in the snap of a finger. You've never proven anything. You've never shown a piece of evidence whatsoever. And what I've heard is that you did work in a very basic job there and got fired. But I don't have a source, so you don't see me spreading it around.
That it's all a joke. And then finally, there's the bureaucratic CIA. I mean, I was threatened
as fact. You don't see me spreading it around as fact.
with assassination in
Duh.
a specific country. And
oh, shut up, you ding-dong.
The chief of station sent back a one-line...
Okay. All right.
Whoa, what we got? Hey, Janie, thank you. You guys, I love you. You're helping me hardcore. Thank you. It's been rough lately. Thank you so much. If you want to play Arwen, make a Streamlabs donut.
So, needless to say, those who would object to this being out of context, when you actually review what this is in context to, it makes it much, much worse.
It makes it worse. Yeah, well, I'll tell you how it makes it worse, Bob. I don't know how you think it makes it worse. It makes it bad to me to see a YouTube channel pretending like there's any value to this fake thing that you've just shown. And how in the world does the super engineer, the super pilot, the super investigator Bob Knodel expose people to these lies and act like it has some value? You're misleading gullible people. The flat earthers that follow you already believe that the earth is flat. What are they going to do now that you've just shown them this? They're going to go out there and search for it. And the first thing they're going to find is this, a constitution that's asking them to forego the rights of their country. Then it fills them full of a bunch of garbage. What it says in these pages, you can read by going to the webpage. Do a basic Google search. But if you scroll through, it tells them they don't have to obey the laws of the country they live in anymore. That they now are committed to the laws of a new country, Robert David Steele's country. And if you go through, it basically replaces basic constitutional jibber-jabber with Robert David Steele's strange sovereign citizen things. Do you think some of the flatties aren't going to start reading this and believe it? They are. They're that gullible. That's why this is so bad, and that's why Bob Knodel is more than a liar. He's more than a con man. He is someone who is willing to mislead these people even further than the shape of the earth, or even further than the dome above their head that he keeps promising them, and he's willing to serve them up on a platter to the next group of conspiratorial idiots. And those people are literally going to get them locked behind bars by convincing them they don't have to follow the laws of their country and that they can sign away their right to follow the court system. Now, here's what you do if you don't want to follow the courts in where you live. You either go move to an island or Antarctica or somewhere where you can live without any law and then, do your own thing, or you switch countries. Get a passport, move, become a citizen of another country. But the last thing that you can do is follow the sovereign citizen promise that you can just stand up in the country you're in and say, I'm sovereign, I'm a natural person, and do whatever you want. You will go to jail if you do that. I'm just telling you.
And I love the way he said, people like me, in the CIA that didn't realize.
He wasn't in the CIA. Lying to them now. I'm sorry, I had to correct him.
That this was all a joke, right? Meaning, well, I think it's pretty obvious what he means by that a lot of the things that are put forward, or almost everything that is put forward, is a joke. It's a lie. Just like that one CIA director that said something, and I'm paraphrasing this, but
see the impact that Flat Earth is having is that these people are feeling more brave to come out and say these things.
A plan B or something. They're going to have to embrace, and admit what's going on.
Because more and more people are going to come out and tell the truth.
Now, I want to make sure, I know this is boring as hell. I know it's cringy. I know it sucks, but you need to hear this. People need to hear that Bob Knodel and the other globe-busting ding-dongs are trying to convince their audience by pretending like they believe this crap, that it's real. They are turning them on to the pizza conspiracy, the pizza leftover conspiracy, the thing that has morphed from back in the election when they said that the pizza place was doing this and that and Hill was helping. That's what David Steele is. What happened was, and yes, this is scary. This is bad for the flatties. I know it sucks to try to stand up for the flatties, but we have to sometimes, guys. GlobeBusters is broke. They made shit at the FEIC. There's not enough money to go around, so they teamed up with InfoWars, and they're trying to sell the InfoWars David Steele psychosis package to the flatties. The next thing, what do the flatties do now? They start watching Q videos. They start watching pizza videos when they search for this ding-dong. This is bad for the flatties. Do you realize how sucky it's going to be if we go to debunk flatties and they're spitting this crap? It's going to suck. We've already debunked all this crap long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some sort of transformation going on where, slowly we're going to apparently get there, and they're going to have to adapt. Their masks are falling, and, they have to think of a plan B or something. They're going to have to embrace.
What are you talking about, Iru? Seriously, dude, you got to get your mind checked. You are so dumb.
And the playing field, but if not, I don't know which is going to be the plan B. So the journalists ask him, okay, it's like the ether.
Then they just move on to something else. But I hope you get what's going on. You think, why didn't Bob Knodel pull up Robert David Steele back when Robert David Steele was popular? Why didn't he put this stuff out back when it trended, or a year later? I mean, it's been so long. Why is he doing this now? I'll tell you why. And I think there's enough evidence to be able to believe it. Once Dirt went on InfoWars, they gave Dirt exposure on the network. Dirt got something out of going there. This is what Dirt is doing to pay them back for helping them get out there, in my opinion. This is them fulfilling the obligation of getting new people to come to their GlobeBusters streams and their flat streams and their conventions. They are going to help advertise other conspiracies now that they've teamed up with other conspiracy theorists. I have shown you that this happens every time. This is not some isolated incident. It's not something that just happens every once in a while. With this group of people, with this like insane thing that you just saw, every time they give somebody something, they end up getting shouted out over and over and over again in the middle of their presentations and videos. And it helps spread their crazy junk out to gullible people. They already know if you believe in flat earth, you're going to believe in this if we get this guy to sell it just right. And that's exactly what I think happened. Okay, so back to this video.
I've never said that. In fact, quite recently in a Nathan Oakley hangout, I have pointed out to people that most engineers within the United States are not licensed as professional engineers, particularly if they work for corporations where they're protected under the umbrella, the legal umbrella of that corporation. However, if an engineer decides to strike out on his own, such as I have, and offer his services, consulting services.
Now, we started the stream showing you George tried to show people that Bob was lying about being an engineer. Thankfully, a really awesome YouTuber that I've always watched and always shouted out on this show, Wolfie6020, jumped in, and he showed us where Bob is not a pilot. Bob is a fraud and a liar. He's bad for the flat earth community. He makes bad decisions for the flat earth community because what he decides to do is instigated by the monetary value of it. He knows that, just like I said before, he wasn't shouting out Robert David Steele and the ITNJ until his buddy goes on InfoWars and Owen Benjamin, people that the ITNJ work with, and now he is. There is always something in it. And what does that do to the people that watch him? He's using them like some kind of commodity. He's basically trying to use them as a viral marketing thing. He knows that he has influence with those people. But instead of being straight out, do you realize if he wants to respect laws, he wants to respect courts, he wants to respect the truth, if he's going to do these things, he needs to put that there's a paid promotion in there. He needs to put that there's a promotion in there at all. He needs to be able to tell people like, hey, I'm showing you this because we've teamed up with these other conspiracy theorists. So keep that in mind. You know, don't let me rip you off. Don't let me sway you to think something's real, you know. That's what every video gamer has to do, and they're just playing video games. That's what every YouTuber has to do, and that's just someone making a video. So why is it that Bob doesn't have to? Because he doesn't care. He does look at his audience like it's a commodity. He looks at him as a commodity so much that when George stands up and does what Bob says he does and shows the truth about Bob not being an engineer or a pilot, Bob attacks George, labels him all those things that I played you he said about him. In this very stream that we just watched, you're going to see a lot more as we go on. But one thing's for sure, George and whoever helped him make that other video, Everett, I want to make sure I shout that guy out because he did a great video. It has to be, did I close it? Where did I put it? I must have closed it. I think it was Everett Anderson. They show you not only did Bob lie, he false struck because he didn't want people to find out he wasn't an engineer and then changed his website to say that he wasn't an engineer afterwards. What does that mean? That means that George's name is cleared. It's valuable to be able to fact check whether Bob is the things he claims to be. Anyone that is those things is happy to be checked on. Wolfie6020 doesn't care if you check to see if he's a pilot because he's a pilot. So why is it that Bob cares? Well, just like in this clip that I played for you, he doesn't want you to check because he knows he's not one.
An engineer, you know, if you're speaking in terms of engineers have to have specific degrees or anything like that, that's probably what most people accept. And yes, we have many degreed engineers on staff.
No, you don't.
But there are many forms of engineering, and
whatever. Why didn't you just say, we are engineers, go check and see, it's the truth? Because you're a liar, Bob. So let's jump back over here, because I got so many more times. Oh, is this it? There it is. Everett Anderson. Okay. Make sure I source that again, because he did a great video. He's only got 300 subs, dude. That guy's good at what he does there. Okay, so where's the damn GlobeBusters one then? I swear to God, I just had it pulled up. Well, okay. I don't know. I didn't think I closed it, but... Now, they say a lot more stuff that you have to hear, because I didn't just predict the thing I just showed you. Oh, he uploaded 2 hours ago. Oh, my stars, It's Impossible by Bob Knodel, FEIC 2019. Thank the Lord, because I haven't been able to find Bob's presentation. We're going to listen to this presentation tonight on the after show so that I can debunk him and make fun of him for it. Okay, now, back over here to this stream. Let's go to the 52:18-minute mark, because you're going to be surprised. There's a reason why I just showed you George again and briefed you on George, because they talk about George. I don't know. Is this it? You don't have to be an engineer to be an engineer at 52:18. So let's head over there. 52:18. Yeah, that's right. This is the same stream that I just showed you. Take a listen.
I don't know who this is. This guy is George Nutsack. And George Nutsack is this troll that he is the one that basically...
No, he's not. If he's a troll, show us evidence. You're the one that says that you should have evidence, Bob. You're the one that says it should be scientific. Everything I've seen about George shows that he's actually doing the right thing. You show me where he's a troll, or you apologize on your stinky channel.
Went after Brian Mullen, said that, you know, he called up his employer, he called up the...
He didn't say he called his employer. He said he called the check on his... I think someone else claimed they called the employer, but I could be misstating that.
Professional Engineers Board.
I want you to listen how Bob Knodel lies about George and turns him into the bad guy and tries to get his audience over and over and over to think that George is just a really bad troll. He's not someone trying to check to see if I'm an engineer. And I don't know why Bob would not just send evidence to George, like, here, George, here's the proof I'm an engineer. Other than Bob not being an engineer, I don't know why he wouldn't prove that he was an engineer to the guy. He could have done that easily.
Trying to get him A, fired, and B, get his PE license pulled. He has come out.
So are you admitting that the guy isn't an engineer or a physicist or whatever? Are you admitting that about him? Because, Bob, did you forget something? Did you forget that if you are an engineer, if you are what you claim to be, you're not going to get in trouble when George calls? Did that leave your mind here? Or are you just BSing?
After me saying, well, you're not a PE, Bob, you're a liar and a fraud. And of course, I've never claimed to be a PE. He's just like, you don't have to be a PE registered with the PE Society to perform engineering things. So this guy has tried to, cause harm to me. Unfortunately, he can't do it.
He didn't try to cause harm to you, unless you're admitting. How could he have caused harm to you? Let's think about it. Oh, I get it. You're lying to your audience, and you consider your audience knowing that you lied to them harm to you. Ah, I get it, Bob. That's why. So George trying to check whether you are an engineer is harm to you. Therefore, okay, I get it. You don't want your audience to know you lied. Got it.
Do a lot because I own my own company. He's been threatening for the...
Well, if you own your own company and you are an engineer, then you must be a registered engineer. So why were you not a registered engineer, Bob? Are you lying again?
Last 3 years. Well, I'm going to take you down, Bob. I'm going to have the law come after.
You should be taken down if you're lying, Bob. That's your own rhetoric. You sit there and say you're a truth seeker and that liars need to be taken down. If you're a liar, Bob, you need to be taken down. That's what you say.
To you, and of course nothing's happened. I mean, because he's just so full of crap. But I mean,
that's a lie. I just proved to you that yes, Bob had to change all of his social media to state that he wasn't an engineer. Coincidentally, the day after George came out and proved it. So Bob, you're lying again. Yes, things happened.
He's this.
Oh, and he false struck videos that showed the evidence, so that he didn't want them going to court and using that against him.
Yeah, he's this little runt guy that, I mean, he was obviously the kid.
Bob, listen, we know you're a big guy. We know you got, the big thing going on and all, okay? But you don't have to literally bring it up all the time, all right?
That,
it's a little golem. It's like a golem.
Yeah.
What are you, Iru? Have you seen your picture? I saw you standing on that stage. If George is a golem, then you're definitely a golem.
Crusader.
He was the kid that obviously everybody beat up in school. I mean, and you can tell why. I mean, he's so pathetic that.
So where's the evidence, Bob? You're a truther. Are you just shit talking? Are you just mad that you got busted by this guy? Because that's what it's starting to look like. It's starting to look like you are so mad that you got busted by George that you're just always going to talk smack about the guy. You know that when people talk smack like you're doing, it doesn't reflect on them. It reflects on you, Bob. It makes you look like a douchebag.
That, he comes all the way down here from Michigan, and he's sitting there in the.
You invited people down. You told people from all over the world to come. How in the world are you going to complain if some Globers show up?
Bar, acting like he's totally cool, and he thinks that people.
How did he act like he was cool? He just sat there and chilled out. What in the world are you saying, dude? Are you this jealous of George?
Are not going to, confront him, especially after what he did or tried to.
So Bob is sitting here again lying and lying and lying. What he's doing is, if you didn't notice, I'll tell you what he's doing right now, and it's fucked. What he's doing is trying to identify George, show the insane, gullible flatties what George looks like. He's trying to incite the Globies to be mean and to go up and harass George. I'm surprised this video's still up. I figured George and a bunch of his friends would go to the 53-minute mark and file the targeted harassment that is this video on GlobeBusters channel. So I'm surprised it's still there, because that's exactly what Bob's doing here. He wants to incite the dum-dums that watch this to hate George and to think George is a bad guy that's trying to shill the conspiracy away and take their conspiracy goodies from them. That way, if he ever has another convention or another meetup where George appears, then Bob doesn't have to harass George. He's already got Nathan Thompson and T-Stew and all these flatties that hang on every word that Bob says, and they're going to go do it for him. Very passive-aggressive, Bob. You think if you had a problem with the guy, why didn't you go talk to him at the FEIC if you're not the things you're saying that George is? George is brave enough to walk into the FEIC and stand up to people like Nathan Thompson and you and the other idiots that are there. George is willing to have these people that he knows is going to harass them and look them dead in the face and not give two shits and throw the middle finger up in the air, Bob. You, on the other hand, are hiding behind stick figures like Nathan Thompson. You're hiding behind ding-dongs like T-Stew, trying to get them to do the dirty work for you so that you could passive-aggressively, in the most beta soy way I've ever seen, make fun of him on a live stream after the FEIC.
To do with Brian Mullen. I mean, this guy is such a POS, I can't even begin to describe it. And
where's the evidence, Bob? Hey, by your own words, we don't have to believe that he's a POS unless you prove it. Got to follow that evidence, Bob. Where's the evidence for this? Let's see it.
So and I got to tell you guys, this is one of the highlights of FEIC for me. I mean, I was infuriated that he was there, but I kind of got my revenge because, I said, look.
Oh, you got your revenge on him? I'd love to hear how that is, because you didn't confront him. You were too scared. For a guy that you think is so small, you sure were scared of what he would do.
Look, this guy has been threatening me, not that I'm scared of him by any means, but
You are scared of him. It's a fact. It is proven with hard evidence, Bob, that you're scared of George. You can at least come to terms with it and admit it, big guy. All right? You are scared of George. Everybody knows it. Everybody saw you sitting over at the bar talking bad about George instead of going up and talking to him. Everybody knows that you told Nathan Thompson to go harass him. All right? We know you're scared of the guy. I get it. You don't want to admit it. It's embarrassing. Okay, Bob.
He's been threatening me for 3 years. He is not going to come in to the conference. And I made my case, and security agreed with me. Robbie agreed with me, and so...
No, security only did it because Robbie told them to. Here you are lying again. So here's what Bob factually did, because the security have to listen to Robbie because he rented the place. Bob went and whined to Robbie and lied to Robbie. Whether Robbie also is dishonest and kicked George out because he believed Bob, or whether he did it because he knows Bob's lying but wants to appease Bob, I don't know. But George lied to Robbie, lied to everybody about what... Wait. Did I say that wrong? Bob lied to everybody about what George was doing and got Robbie to tell the security to kick him out. We already know that. So you can misrepresent everything you want here. We're just going to count up all your lies and expose you for it, Mr. Knodel.
So he tried to come in and he got booted, right? So then he tried to sneak back in. He went back to somebody that didn't have information that he wasn't supposed to be there. He actually got a tag.
That's not true. George recorded everything. You're lying. You're just bold-faced lying.
Came in. He's all dressed up like a flat earther. And I spotted him again. And this time I went to the state troop.
What does that mean? How do you dress like a flat earther? Do you put a big globe on your head with a pair of glasses? I never saw him wearing that. What are you talking about, bro? You are a liar, Bob. You're just a liar, dude. You are so butthurt that this guy proved you weren't an engineer and exposed you to the world that you're just sitting here like a kid on a playground. You're scared to go talk to George, so you're just hiding in the corner, and you got one of your friends standing there, and you're just shit-talking the guy.
Trooper that was there and had him, boot him out on his butt and said that if he returned, he would be arrested. As simple as...
He stayed there all weekend. What are you talking about? He didn't get arrested. He stayed there. So what?
That. Now, we couldn't boot him off the premises because he was a hotel guest. But I am happy to say that I was the one that got George Nutsack booted from the conference.
No, you weren't. Well, unless you lying to Robbie. Okay, fine. If you lying to Robbie makes you the one that did it, we will give that to you. Okay, we won't count that as a lie, but fine.
And I would do it again in a heartbeat.
We know, because you're scared of him. If you weren't scared of him, you'd talk to him. If you really felt the way you just said, you would have confronted him, and you wouldn't have used any violence or punched the guy or gotten a fight with the guy, You would have just went up and debunked him. You would have just proved him wrong. The thing is, you got exposed by him. I just played hard evidence that you got exposed by him. They literally have it on the Wayback Machine that you admitted that you were an engineer and a pilot and then changed your website the day that George exposed you. The evidence, look, I know, Bob, I get it. You're really mad at me because I won't listen to what you're saying and just believe you. But I'm just using your tenets. I'm just following the evidence that's there, dude. That's all I'm doing. Oh, shit. Okay, I can't. I was going to move on, but I can't because he's about to talk about Team Skeptic. Is Team here? Team, where are you?
I cannot stand this clown, and it just really did me a lot of good to do that. So, but
Well, fine. You could think that if you want, but the way it made you look to the entire human population is just a big baby. I can sum up the entire way you looked as very childish, just as a really big baby.
I just don't understand why these people want to do this. Why they come there and
because you're lying to people. You know it. You measured the 15 degree per hour drift, and as long as you lie to people, ironically, Bob, I know this is crazy and ironic, but as long as you keep lying to people, people are going to keep standing up and debunking you. They're going to keep going to your conventions and to your public meetups and standing there and showing how you're lying. They're going to keep telling people that there is hard evidence that you're lying. And because why? Just like you always say, we have to expose liars and show the truth. It's just how it works, dude.
Apparently, I guess Team Skeptic was another person that might have been there. They were trying to pick fights. One of them went up and was knocking Nathan Thompson's hat off of his head.
So all of a sudden now, you don't want flat earthers all categorized as each other. That Bob doesn't want us to throw all flatties into a group together, but he's allowed to throw all globies into a group. Robert, how are zombies like flurfs? The lack of brains. How are zombies better? They recognize their deficiency and are actively trying to remedy it. Exactly. They want to eat brains because they lack brains. Right. At least zombies do that. Flurfs sure don't.
Head. And then, yeah, literally trying to pick fights and get into physical altercation.
You lied again. You just lied again. Maybe it is accurate that, M. Stone was trying to egg on the flatties. Why, though? They kept going up and getting in his face. They didn't go there and sit down and talk politely to him. They didn't try to do it in a truthful way. They did it in a mean way. I've got the evidence on my channel. So, Bob, thank you for again proving how much of a liar you are. I knew you'd do this. I just figured, see, what most of these guys do, when they want to lie about a convention or they want to lie about something that just happened, they'll typically wait a few weeks. That way, anyone that was there won't hear them actively lying and actively misrepresenting things. But Bob is so triggered that he couldn't wait. He couldn't wait 2 weeks for it to go kind of crusty in people's minds so he could try to re-steer them on what to think about the FEIC. He was so triggered that he just had to bust this all out as soon as he could.
So that they could just, derive some sensationalism. It's like these people are unbelievable losers, that they would do this.
Instead of they have no arguments, they've been caught with their pants down.
No, now you're lying. They have many arguments. They made arguments there. I don't know what you're talking about.
So many times the astrophysicist was humiliated by Wakey, and then
an astrophysicist was humiliated by Wakey. I've seen a clip where an astrophysicist was talked to. I didn't know it was by a guy named Wakey. I guess it could have been. He wasn't humiliated, though. In fact, the opposite happened.
Show up, and that's a new tactic. It's kind of trying to pick fights. Wow, what a...
Do you hear this? Do you hear this? Do you see what's going on, my audience? I played you all weekend long for 4 days. Video after video after video after video after video of Flurfer going up to the Globers that were there, trying to fight them, trying to yell at them, trying to freaking pick fights and kick them out and start crap with them. You saw it yourself. The Globers there were just chilling. They just sat down. Anyone that wanted to talk to them, they would talk kindly with them. They didn't insult them. You saw how open and nice George, team, and even M. Stone was being. How in the world do these guys get to say what they're saying right now? It is the literal opposite of what happened. You just heard him, though. He just said the Globers were trying to go around and pick fights with everyone there. But that's not what happened. It was the opposite. Go back and watch my videos if you don't believe me. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Watch videos from the streams from those days. It's just inaccurate. It's just bold-faced lie. Rack it up. It's another lie told by the GlobeBusters.
You're going really to prove that your ball is spinning in space like that. Yeah, sure.
That's not what they were doing, Ding Dong. We've already proven that the ball is spinning in space. It is proven with hard science. So, what? Because they went to a convention and sat down to talk to you guys, they are trying to fight with people to prove the globe is spinning? No, you're just lying again. Rack up another lie. This is literally the 30-second lie that we've heard.
Sure.
Yeah, and so on this one, Nathan Thompson's, coming up and talking to him, and, he grabs Nathan's phone and he throws it. And, of course, all the ballers are saying, whoa, you're...
Look at what he's playing. Instead of him being honest and playing all the video of Nathan Thompson harassing George, bullying George, insulting George, stalking George, which you saw with your own eyes on this channel, I told you, I said that the GlobeBusters and Jaron and them were going to lie about what happened to try to make Globers look bad so they could control their cult. This is now provably a cult. I showed you just days ago where these guys harassed the hell out of the 3 Globers that were there, and now what every flurfer doing, they're trying to convince the flurfers that it was the opposite. They're withholding the video that proves that Nathan was the harasser and trying to frame George as the harasser. Is it any wonder why there are flatties out there in comment sections, in live chats, and that make videos that say that George is harassing Bob? Is it any wonder that they are saying George is a troll? This is why, and it's all because Bob is a bold-faced, pathological liar. That's why I just played all of this. Yeah, I know. I went into it a little hard during the ITNJ part, but it's important for you to hear that because it's also showing that he doesn't give 2 shits about his viewers. But even more than that, look at what he's doing, man. This is a lie. This is a provable lie, worthy of being exposed. I mean, what I should do is take the video. In fact, damn it, I'm doing it. Let me put it in my notes. That'd be a really good video. So let me see here. Take all the video of Nathan harassing people all weekend and then play the video of Bob saying that Nathan was harassed all weekend by the evil Glober. I put it in my notes. I'm going to do that video probably tomorrow. I could take 9 examples of Nathan Thompson harassing someone at the FEIC, actively seeking them out and just fucking with them. And then play a clip of Bob from GlobeBusters going live, picking one video where a Glober. Now listen, George had every right to throw Nathan's phone. Nathan is holding the phone right in George's face. George kept asking him not to, and he throws the phone away from him. He didn't crack the phone. He didn't break the phone. He didn't steal the phone. And what does Bob do? Does Bob play any of the context? Does he play anything leading up to it? No. He does exactly what I predicted he would do. He takes the one clip that he can use against George and plays it. Watch.
You're interrupting this guy in the middle of his dinner. It's like, for God's sakes, the guy comes down, flies over 1,000 miles to cause a ruckus at a conference. He's sitting there in the lunchroom saying, Bob Knodel, I'm going to come after you, stuff like that. And I'm just like,
when did he say that? He said that? George, did you say that in the lunchroom? Did you yell while you're eating? You got food in your mouth. Bob Knodel, I'm coming after you. I just don't see George doing that surrounded by 200 flatties. I just don't see it. Shigura says, something I haven't heard mentioned enough is how pathetic the venue was for not having proper security and not expecting that there would be trouble when hosting these nut jobs. Yeah, the venue didn't care. They were just happy to have the money. They were like, yeah, we put up with a little crap, but count that cash. These flatties paid up.
It's like, oh, really? I think the guy deserves anything that he gets. So, yeah.
You think he deserves anything that he gets? That is disgusting, Bob. You're a disgusting guy.
It's just unbelievable. They had people that were spitting in his little buddies were spitting in people's face. I think one of them.
He didn't even spit in his face. He blew through a straw and the tiniest little bit of alcohol flew out of the straw. These guys were getting up in the guy's face. Well, what do you expect? What do you expect to happen if you get up in someone's face and they sneeze or they cough or they puff through a straw? What do you expect? It's their fault for being in the guy's face. Sorry. A lot worse could have happened, and it would have been justified from M. Stone. I can't believe M. Stone maintained the level of restraint that he did. I kept saying that all weekend. It's honestly almost mind-boggling to hear Bob lie like this. You realize how much content is in this small clip? For anyone that debunks anything Flatty related, this is a lot of content for you guys.
Spit in Flat Earth Fokker's face. It's just like, wow, these guys are so desperate. But, that's what we're up against. They have no...
We are desperate. We are. Crowd striking videos. Lying about the shape of the earth. measuring a 15-degree-per-hour drift and then trying to say that it was the energy of the heavens drifting and the blah, blah, blah. You're the desperate one. I forgot. I'm doing a shtick here. So all of this, though, reinforces a point I'm trying to make. That once you realize someone is dishonest, like Bob, you then know he will literally do anything he can to, one, lie, and two, make as much money out of you as he can. Just lying to you shows how much he disrespects you as people. He doesn't see you as viewers. He doesn't see you as, the people who pay his bills by watching his show and tipping him and using super chats and things like that. He sees you as less than human. He sees you as a number. He sees you as a paycheck. He feels he can lie to you. He can just say whatever he wants. You're just going to lap it up because you're brain-dead zombies. You get mad at us for making debunking videos on these guys. When are you going to stand up to Bob and say, I've had enough of you lying to me over and over and over again when you have this much hard evidence of it?
No arguments, so I have to come there and literally try and start fights and
we have no argument, so we have to go start fights. Well, Bob, I can prove that it was the flatties that tried to start the fights. So are you then going to admit that you just said they have no argument? Okay, good.
Spit in people's face and grab their cameras and throw them across the room and scream and cause ruckuses.
All these guys.
I don't. Yeah, I know some of them were asked to leave. I know George was asked to leave because I was 100%.
You're lying again. George was not asked to leave. The security is recorded walking right up to George and saying, you can hang out in this entire hotel and do whatever you want. You just can't go into the conference area because they rented it. It's on video, Bob. Now you're just... How many lies are we up to? 35? 34 or 35? I've lost count. I mean, how do you lie this much in one video, Bob?
At the lead of that one, and I could not have been happier. But I mean, this is just unbelievable. What do you do with people like this? But
you expose them. That's what you do. So your evidence is playing one clip from George throwing a phone. You wait until I put out my evidence, Bob, because I'm going to prove you a liar, and I'm going to upload it tomorrow. And I'm going to show who's really lying here, who's really the guy that's, doing this.
But that is really, it tells a story.
Yeah, Sugar, you're right. Psh, the hotel obviously used CGI, and they did tell George to leave. They just CGI'd a video to make it look like they didn't tell him that.
About how desperate the ballers are and what it is this battle has devolved into for them,
It is kind of criminal, though. It's a kind of persecution.
We're up to 66. Globus says 66. Well, we just hit 67 because he just lied again, so we're at 67.
Of a group. If you've done that against, someone, any kind of ethnic group, let's say, that would be a kind of hate crime kind of thing.
He's trying to... Oh, my God. He's trying to say it's a hate crime? Did you hear him? He just said that it should be considered a hate crime.
Yeah, exactly.
And Bob agreed with them.
Exactly. And of course, and I have to tell you another thing. The guy that was there reporting for Coast to Coast AM actually had an opportunity to talk with George, right? And after he was done with him, he came back and he goes, that guy is completely psychopathic. He's completely deluded.
Yeah, that's right, Rodent. The hotel is ran by NASA. So you're telling me that the guy from Coast to Coast called him psychopathic and deluded? Really? Really? I don't believe that. So George told the guy from Coast to Coast that Bob Knodel isn't an engineer and that he checked and found out Bob was lying about being a pilot and an engineer and that he could prove it with hard physical evidence. And the guy from Coast to Coast walks away, goes straight to Bob Knodel and says, George Nutsack is deluded, psychopath. I don't believe you, Bob. That's another lie. Add it up, Busy.
I mean,
I'm going to play WoW every time Bob lies. Every time he lies, I'm playing WoW.
He's out of his mind. I mean, so yeah, he made a great impression on the press there, right? And this is a guy that's supposed to be some respectable dude, you know, that the ballers all look up to, and he's just a pathetic little troll. So, wow. Anyway, but yeah, so that was some of the other things that went on that were, it was just utterly unbelievable that, you know, the level that they have dropped to. So, all right, so we will leave him alone. And, you know.
You're not going to leave him alone. Don't even lie, ding dong. 5907, here we go. All right. 5907,